Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'll be going through my AFL tips for round 4 and reviewing my tips for round 3. So before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So if I go over to here, you can see with my tips, I tipped, if I actually go up to the start here, 7 out of 9, really good round, top 5%. Overall rank now is climbing to 597k. Not happy with that, but a good round here can get me probably up to like 400k realistically with how everything's going. We go through the tips for last round. Brisbane, I tipped by 14. They won by 33. Carlton, I tipped Mackay to have a bag. So if you count 4 goals, like 2 as a bag, I think he needed to kick that 5th one to get a bag. And tipped him by 24, won by 23. Adelaide, I tipped by 10, and they won by 39 in the end. Richmond, I had by 12 points in this game, and they should have probably actually won this. And then I tipped St Kilda in a close one by 10 points, and they won by 53. I tipped the Swans by 8, and they lost by 2. I tipped Essendon by 11, and they won by 13, so another really good tip there. And then I tipped Melbourne by 55 points in this, and they won by 63, so pretty good. And then I didn't expect, take away the third quarter onslaught or the fall apart from Hawthorn, and 65-0 it was. If you take that away, they lost by, 82 points. If you take away the 65 points to 0 and give it to Geelong by 3 or 4 goals, well, then you kind of see that they win by 40 odds. So the 20 point margin that I picked wasn't really that bad. So now we go into round 5. And I have squiggle up on the side here as well. So Adelaide against Carlton. Who's going to win? I think Adelaide are probably the safer pick. I mean, Adelaide are 2-2 and Carlton are 3-1. And I think Adelaide probably just, with the way their midfield is set up, and I think Doherty is a big loss, so I'm going to pick Adelaide by 15 points. And we go over here. Where the ladder predictor? That's ladder predictor, Adelaide by 15. Then we go over to Fremantle versus Gold Coast. I don't know who to pick in this game, because they've both been pretty horrendous, to be honest with you. But I think Fremantle, just because if Wits is going to be a late in anyway, and I think Fremantle have the better defense. Well, they have a better defense and arguably a better midfield. So I think, especially with Wits being out, I think they have a better midfield. So, I mean, and Gold Coast really don't have a good forward line anyway. So, I mean, or back line. So, I think they win it here by maybe like 6 or 7, 8 points. So we'll go 9 in the end. Swans versus Richmond. They seem to always lose against Richmond, I swear. I don't think this site's probably at the best at this point. But I think you have to probably tip the Swans over Richmond. I could see Richmond winning this because they seem to beat the Swans often, but I think the Swans at smaller grounds are a little bit better than Richmond at smaller grounds. So I'm going to pick the Swans by 20 points. North Melbourne against Brisbane. I think it's Brisbane just because I think they just got a better midfield with LDU concerns, etc. as well. And I just think that you're finally going to see a Neil have a good game here. And I'm going to pick Brisbane by 13. And then you got Melbourne versus Essendon. And so Melbourne is probably the clear favourite in this one as you can see by the odds. And I think you got to probably pick Melbourne in this game, even though they're both 3-1. So I'm going to pick Melbourne, and I'm going to probably pick them by a big margin because I think Clary and Oliver and Grundy are going to work well. So I'm going to pick them by 35 points if I can get to it. Yeah, 35 points. And then you've got here Port versus Western Bulldogs. Port are probably the clear favourites in this game, but we've seen Port go win, loss, win, and that was a very lucky. Well, it was just a weird game against the Swans, to be honest with you. It was there was so many free kicks each way that were just not there. The only thing the umpires probably got right was the 50s, let's be honest. That was the only thing they got right, because even the goal they took away a clear goal from Port, basically, and it was just horrendous, to be honest with you. So yeah, and I do think the Port probably would have lost that game, were probably about a 90% chance of losing that game if the McCartan brothers didn't go down, but they both went down, and that basically allowed Port to have the ability for their key forwards to get in the game. With Western Bulldogs, I think we're going to see Western Bulldogs go on a run here, so I'm actually going to go against the grain and pick Western Bulldogs in this game at Adelaide Oval. Against the home crowd, I'm going to pick them by 20 points here. Then you have West Coast versus Geelong, and I think Geelong's the easy pick here, and I think Geelong get back into gear quite easily here, and they win this game by 58 points. Like, it's pretty clear and obvious that I think Geelong are going to win this game. Then you have GWS versus Hawthorn. Hawthorn look terrible, and GWS is starting to return to something, I guess. They actually look competitive in games, at least, which is a good sign. So, who am I going to pick? I think I got to pick GWS just to go with the crowd on this one, but I'm going to pick them in another close one by 11 points. And then you have the last game of the round at Adelaide Oval, St Kilda versus Collingwood. The game that sort of had some debate, with many Victorians saying it should be in Melbourne, it should be in Melbourne, it should be in Melbourne. You get 15 games at the MCG each year. Take one away from home. You know, you only have to travel like 6 or 7 times a year. It shouldn't be that bad. And half the time anyway, they try and line it up so you have the GMHPA, or you have the trip to your away games are always in Melbourne anyway, I swear anyway. So you have Marvel Stadium as well that you sometimes use, that just so happens to be an away game, etc. So one in Adelaide, it's not too bad. But going back to the tips, yeah, Collingwood's probably the favourite to win this game. But then there's the St Kilda defence, and also St Kilda's getting back a key forward, and Collingwood's having ruck problems. So I'm going with St Kilda. And I'm going against the crowd a little bit, so this one's probably going to hurt me in the end, but I'm going to tip St Kilda by 18 points. And here's the ladder that I have after 5 rounds it is. So St Kilda 5-0, 150th year, 150 percentage points. Melbourne 4-1, Carlton 3-1-1, Sydney 3-2, Collingwood 3-2, Essendon 3-2, Adelaide 3-2. Who would have thought that? Brisbane 3-2, Western Bulldogs 3-2, Geelong getting back to it, Freo, GWS 2-3. That's pretty good. But then the surprise package is, I guess, Richmond being 1-3, and Port being I guess I'm just predicting a very, very even comp, except for what looks to be St Kilda and Melbourne running away with it at the moment. So that's my video there and then of the AFL tips that I've got at the moment, and we'll see you guys in another video. Thanks guys, goodbye.